All right, let's kick this off, shall we? Yes, everybody says yes, including me. Let's go. I forgot something. I got all silent. I got to click the button. Here we go. Okay, I tried to add a new intro music video. All right, thank you. Here we go. My name is Will Bartlett. Welcome, everybody, to tonight's Bolinas Community Meeting. Today is Wednesday, the 9th of October, isn't it, Howard? August. What did I say? Oh, okay. Just real quick for everyone's, just because I just want to be clear, I have been very ill for a very long time. I'm doing my best, but I might be a little silly. But here we go. Welcome, everybody. I don't believe we need to focus on the digital translation this evening because, well, here it is. We're just going to skip all through all of that and get to the welcome again. I want to give a little bit of a thanks real quick to a bunch of folks. One, the Bolinas Community Center for allowing us to use the space month after month after month. They're doing a fundraiser right now. If you check that out, please make sure to give a little scratch to those folks. I also want to thank Wendy. Where's Wendy? There she is. Wendy did an incredible job of outreach this month, and we have such a large list of people coming to speak, and Wendy was very instrumental in that. I also want to thank Fernando, who is online. Fernando's been doing a good job of bringing us folks. We've got a really good show tonight, and by show, I mean community meeting. Talking about what matters to us for the now and for the future. I don't speak Spanish, but if someone wants to say that out loud, they can feel free. All right, the agenda tonight, as always, is announcements, speakers, projects. And so starting off with community announcements, normally people would come up and say things if they had things to say, but tonight we do have a fun little thing about the Grand Hotel, and Stu wrote a song for it, and it should be playing right now. Nope, definitely not playing. Let me try.
Come on now, let's reimagine what could possibly happen. What could possibly happen here? Join with me, let's reimagine what could possibly happen. What good things could appear.
Sorry, Stu, I could do the whole thing. It's like 3 minutes long. But the Grand Hotel is doing a grand reimagining where they want to ask the community what to do with the space, how to come out. I think the flyer is still up there on the screen. Yep, totally. And go check out those folks. I think it's tomorrow night, actually, right? Anyone involved with that here? Except anyone? Yeah. Okay, great. Tomorrow night for the grand reimagining. And again, community announcements, if you want to make community announcements, please reach out to me before the meeting. It helps to be able to have stuff. Does anyone have anything they want to come up here and tell the community real quick? Wendy's got something. She's got her hand raised. Come on up, Wendy, real quick.
Sorry, I didn't remember to tell you ahead of time. I'm a new rescue volunteer with the Marine Mammal Center, and I just wanted to say that we could really use more volunteers out here. So if you're interested, please let me know.
It's true. There actually was a distressed sea animal creature last night. Unfortunately, that I saw. It was very sad over there at Wharf. Called up that they had been informed. Hopefully, I don't know how that ended up, but it is what it is. But to Wendy's point, yes, we could use more folks out here. We always start off with community speakers, which is a good time. And the first one up here is, oh, I'm sorry, I'm supposed to do the agenda. The agenda for this evening is actually really great and full. We've got the Bolinas Eucalyptus Project, Bolinas Community Land Trust, Cleaner California Coast, NAMI Marin, Bolinas disaster council, and sea level rise. Starting off with Howard, who's going to be filling in for John. No, you are. No, you're, yeah, he's filling in for John. Here we go, Howard Dillon.
So, thank you so much, Mr. Will Bartlett, for doing such a great job of setting this whole thing up. I'm going to put my old rag over the microphone since he's telling us how ill he's been, and I don't want to get that close to it. But so I'm here this evening wearing my BEP hat, the Bolinas Eucalyptus Project, just to give you a short update on what's happening and what we're up to. And to start off by saying that this is the third anniversary of the formation of our group. So we have now been banging our heads against this brick wall for 3 years and continue to do so. And we are making slow progress. Happy to be able to say that. We have an important meeting coming up in a week, the 16th of August, a week from tonight at the Bolinas Community Public Utility District monthly meeting, where we will be asking for the BPUD's full unequivocal support for our project on the BPUD lands at the corner, the junction of Mesa Road and Olima Bolinas Road. And we've been doing, preliminary meetings and so on and so on. So we will actually be asking for their support for our project, because about 3/4 of the project is on BPUD land. The rest is on privately owned land to the north side of Mesa Road. And if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about the eucalyptus grove that surrounds the junction of Mesa Road and Olima Bolinas Road, and that we are advocating full removal. Our goals are to eliminate extensive safety hazards along roadways and pathways, including broken treetops, uprooting and falling trees, fire danger posed by the declining eucalyptus grove, and we wish to ensure reliable and safe emergency access and evacuation routes for Bolinas. We also intend and wish to enhance native habitat, and I've just lost my entire script from in front of my little things. So that's how, unfamiliarity would take. Anyway, we want to restore and convert what's there to a more native thing with friendly pollinating plants for birds and insects, including and particularly emphasizing the monarch butterfly, that we wish to enhance places where they have been known to roost in the past, although that grove is very minimal in the life of the monarch. Over the last 20 some years, we've only had 1% or slightly over 1% of roosting monarchs in Bolinas in that grove. So it's not a huge site, but we intend to enhance it and provide better places for them nearby. Just to remind you all that Mark Frazier was the person who got this whole project going, and unfortunately he has already left us. My fear is that I'll be gone before any of this actually gets going, but we're all growing older. If you wish to find more information, we have an excellent website, which is available at the bolinaseucalyptusproject.org. And we have constant updates there and maps and indications. There have been some misunderstandings. People, I know somebody cried to us, why do you have to take all the eucalyptus in Bolinas? We're not taking all the eucalyptus in Bolinas, nor would it be possible to do so if we had many lifetimes. We are concentrating on evacuation routes and failing eucalyptus groves, starting with the one at Mesa Olima Bolinas. So to make that clear, we are soliciting letters of support. If you are in favor of what we're doing, we did a very successful petition a couple of years ago, we raised 500 signatures in a very short period of time in favor of this project. If you would care to write letters of support to the BPUD or indeed to the fire department, because once we've got the BPUD's approval, we will then be moving on to the Bolinas Fire Department and asking for their total endorsement also. We're also looking for grant writers to help us get the restoration project underway. That's being headlined by Judith Lowry and a wonderful firm called H.T. Harvey, who are well known in the Bay Area for doing this kind of thing. And we have the support of the local biologist, David Ainley, who's been giving us very good information. Also that this same location involves the bike path, or that part of the bike path that passes through that location. And there is a project in the works from Marin Water to use some of the eucalyptus trees that we intend to take out of the ground as a part of a salmon restoration project over in Lagunitas, where they can actually use trees about 40-foot to a certain diameter, not too large, not too small, about a 40-foot length of tree with the root ball, where they can set them in the rivers, in the streams, and create salmon habitat, enhanced salmon habitat. So that's it from me. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Please check out BolinasEucalyptusProject.org. Thank you.
Howard brings up a good point. Just for everyone's concern of, it's like asthma. I got asthma, not anything that's going to make any. Yes. I'm talking about being sick, but it's not actually sick. It's just my lungs have decided they don't want to work anymore. So it's not like it's going to, make anybody else. Just for everyone, so everyone's cool, right? Everybody cool? All right, great. Everyone's cool. Although COVID is on the rise again, if you know about the poop scale's rising up. So keep that in mind if you're interested. Next up, we have Annie O'Connor with the Bolinas Community Land Trust.
So can you guys hear me with my mask on? Okay, this is an awkward follow-up to that, but I had planned to wear a mask tonight because some of you may know that I had COVID in December. I developed long COVID. I am finally getting over long COVID, and I really don't want to get COVID again. So I decided to become paranoid and just go all the way to the other end of the extreme. So I'm masking up, but it's not about you. Okay, just so we're clear. All right. More than I expected to share about me, but there you have it. Okay. So I am excited to be able to communicate that we have 2 more new hires joining us at the BCLT. This is super, super exciting and reflects, I think, the scaling up that we're doing overall as an organization. It's a long time coming. So we are going to be adding a director of properties. His name is Sergio Ramirez. He's bilingual, bicultural. He's Mark Correa Sanchez's son-in-law, for those of you who know Mark. He's, a fantastic individual who doesn't currently reside here in Bolinas, but certainly knows a lot about Bolinas, and you'll be getting to know him, and we'll be looking forward to introducing you more soon. Our second new staff member is a project associate who we're adding to support with the Teixeira project and some of the other projects that we have underway. Her name is Jasmine Bravo, and she has grown up on ranches in Point Reyes and Inverness, so brings a lot of great lived experience as well as great educational experience. She was a West Marin scholar. She's really a stellar student and comes with glowing recommendations, and is also bilingual, bicultural. So just really expanding our capacity, I think, to be working in all the ways we need to. This has also brought some confusion about what's happening with our current staff, and staff members as individuals are getting questions, and I'm getting questions. So I just want to say, for those of you who aren't aware, Leilani took on the role of part-time administrative director when I became executive director. Melis will be moving to a role as a part-time project manager from property manager previously. He'll be moving into a project management role. Jose, who many of you have met and know, continues on in a full-time community organizer role, primarily focused on working with the residents of the Teixeira Ranch, but that may expand in the future. And then Grace Gubbins continues in her part-time communications communication associate role. So we're starting to feel like we've got the staff we need to do the work that we're doing, which is, growing all the time. Thanks in no small part to the incredible leadership of Ariane who's here. So just want to acknowledge that we're doing our best to see through all the wonderful projects that were put in motion before our tenure. So thank you for that. And we're also looking to add board members. So if you think you're someone who might bring skills, or if you have lived experience that you think would be beneficial to contribute in support of our mission, we'd love to hear from you. We're specifically looking to add more residents of BCLT properties to our board of directors, but we're also looking for people with many other skills. I mean, really, you all know the community and what we do, so I'm sure just about any of you could have something that would be valuable. So please do think about joining the board or give your friend that nudge. We'd love to be adding some more board members. So the two updates that I have, and then one announcement that probably should have been made in the community announcement section. So I'll remember that for the future. The one update is on the Bolinas gas station, and the second update is on the Teixeira Ranch project. So the first update on the Bolinas gas station is that I think everyone has hopefully heard by now that we have decided as an organization that we must move forward to decommission the gas station. What that means is that we'll be taking up the underground tanks, removing them. And at this point, we have no plans to replace them with above ground tanks. So just to say it as plainly and directly as possible, because I think there's been some confusion that I just don't want to persist. We are talking about not having a gas station in Bolinas in the future. So I think that that's really challenging in this time that we're also grappling with the loss of the post office and the loss of, many things. It's been a difficult winter, and we did not make this decision lightly. The board did not make this decision, and the staff did not make the recommendation. It comes both from the financial realities of maintaining a gas station that is seeing an increasing number of repairs, losing funds on the regular, and also just the reality of climate change and needing to adapt to that. So happy to go into more detail on the why, but just wanted to make sure we're really, really clear about the what, which is that we are going to be removing the gas station in the near future. We don't yet have a date for when sales will stop. We will certainly make sure that that's well publicized, but it could be as soon as the end of this fall. So that means that in the next few months, people may be needing to start to transition their day-to-day behaviors. And we're also aware that the biggest impact of this is actually going to largely be on people who rely on cash sales and who are mostly, residing in Bolinas and not really leaving Bolinas. So it's something that we're looking for opportunities to mitigate. There's been a lot of concern about the loss of the gas station, and we understand that. And we are ready to offer our knowledge about operating gas stations, about, all the myriad of things that we've come to learn owning and operating a gas station, to anyone who's interested in stepping up from the community to help plan for a future gas station that would exist somewhere else than where it's currently located and not to be owned and operated by the BCLT. We want to offer that support. No one has yet stepped forward. So we hear the community concern, but no one has stepped forward yet to take up the mantle of planning for that solution. So if it's something that the community really wants, we hope somebody will do that, because our organization really has our hands full with the decommissioning effort. So I just wanted to bring that update and make sure that everyone knows that we will also, as of next week, no longer be selling batteries at the gas station. So if you're relying on us for batteries, they will no longer be available. Okay, I know I'm running over, but I'm just gonna hold forth like I usually do. And I'm sorry again. Okay, so with the Teixeira Ranch project, there are two updates I want to provide. One is about the electric bathrooms, and one is about the emergency RV project. So I think most people saw next door or heard in the community an outcry from residents of the Teixeira Ranch for more dignified toilet facilities. And many of you donated to that cause through the BCLT as the nonprofit fiscal sponsor. I just want to reassure that all of those funds are being held for that purpose. We raised about $10,000 total from community, and by we, I mean our community raised about $10,000 for that purpose. We estimate we need closer to $60,000. So the BCLT is committed to fill that gap. We are taking a little longer, and there's been several community members that have expressed a lot of frustration with the BCLT for why did we raise the funds and we haven't produced yet, and sort of what's taking so long. So I just wanted to take a moment to explain that we did raise the funds. We had to figure out how we were going to pay for that large gap that we didn't have the funds to cover. Then we had to go through a process with all of the residents to figure out who would want them, where they would be located, what kind of unit they would want. We had to look at the site constraints. We had to find out of the units that the residents identified, where can we actually procure them? It turns out there aren't enough of the type that are wanted. So, looking for those. And then the last step, which we're in now, is we have to go through the receiver for permission, and we have to go through the county for permission. So we're expecting to be able to deliver those soon, but I just wanted to make clear that, because we have to do everything legally, that's one of the obligations BCLT has. Sometimes it's not as quick as people would think or hope it would be. And we've been keeping the residents informed along the way. So the last thing that I want to share is about the emergency RV project, because it's really exciting news. You may have seen, you may have heard, we actually broke ground August 1st, which is when the milestone we set to hit, we hit that target. It required our board to make a decision to move forward with the money we have and the permissions we have, which, to be clear, is a necessary but not sufficient component to complete the project. So there's a bit of a risk there to start on time in order to be able to complete the emergency housing by October 15th, because the residents will not be able to stay where they currently are. So they have to move somewhere. We have to complete this project by October 15th. So there are more permits, more money that will be needed. We're working with grid partnership with the county. Kevin Lunny of Lunny Grading and Paving is leading that work, and he's offered to the residents themselves, if they'd like to be paid to work with him, he will hire them as part of the project team. So that's a really exciting development, and also helps us expand the labor to move as quickly as we need to. We expect that we will have more public funding coming in, and we've reached state level discussions with Senator McGuire to try to just bring awareness to this project, given that there was a real precedent set after the Monterey, that terrible mass shooting with the farm workers in Half Moon Bay. There were a lot of funds that were made available for farm worker housing across California, and our community is not one of the communities that was included in that, but we would really like to see this project be included in some of those funds that were made available. So you may see that there's more discussion in broader forums as we're raising the profile of the project, really looking to make sure that all public dollars are invested in this, because we don't want this to be something that's privately funded by our community, although we may be asking for some support with that too in the future, but we're going to go for the public funds first. Okay, so I think that the last thing that I'll say is just please save the date for August 26th. And this is what should have been in the community announcement. So apology again, and also for hogging the time. 12 to 6 p.m. at Mesa Park. It's going to be a Fiesta del Barrio, end of summer block party. It'll have music and games, delicious food made by local people, and really a multicultural celebration of community. So this was made possible through the Giving Through Youth program of the West Marin Fund. The 6th grade class chose BCLT. We're working in partnership to put on this event to really showcase our community through the eyes of our youth, who really have no problem, embracing each other exactly as we are. And so I think we want to bring that to the whole community to try to really just have a multicultural event to celebrate our community in all its beauty. And we hope you will join us. Thank you.
Thanks, Annie. Okay, very excited to introduce Madeline from the county. Am I speaking? Madeline from the county to talk about a very new initiative. And thanks to Fernando for getting us in contact. So excited for you to be here. Do you need you want the clicker? Just click just give it a tab.
Oh, it'll just move. Oh, perfect. Great. Wow. All right. Cool. Let me just practice that. Okay. I'm sorry. Hello. Hi, good evening. My name is Madeline Nieto Hope, and I am not an employee of the County of Marin, but I am working with the County of Marin on this very exciting initiative that has just launched in the last week. This is a tri-county initiative that is with Marin, Sonoma, and Mendocino County, and it's with the Leave No Trace organization, and it's a pollution prevention program. And we're very excited to be at this point. We have been, there's been a working group for the last year coming together on a regular basis and just trying to sort of figure out what this is going to look like and how it's going to work. And so this is actually the first time we're using this slide deck. And so I am hoping that it's all just going to go smoothly. But we did our press release last week, and today was the first day that we were sharing our digital assets across social media. So it feels really like appropriate to be having this opportunity with Bolinas to be sort of trying it out as well. So thank you for having me and us. And so I'm just going to see if this goes down a little. And I am going to be coordinating myself with this. Okay, so the Cleaner California Coast is empowering the public to basically have a cleaner and healthier California coast. During the pandemic, the California coastal beaches and public parks have experienced a rise in visitation. And over the year, over last year, there were 10 million people that visited the California coastline, and there were over 55,000 pounds of trash that was picked up on the sensitive coastal environments across the 3 counties. In June 2022, Marin, Sonoma, and Mendocino counties, they decided to launch a coordinated initiative because in our coastal communities, there is a carrying capacity. We don't have enough capacity to respond to the amount of pollution that was being generated in the park systems. And so we have worked with a partnership that included the federal, state, and local agencies, federally recognized tribes and non-federally recognized tribes, local jurisdictions, land managers, and other community-based organizations, including Sonoma County Tourism. Sonoma County Tourism was the one entity in the 3 counties that had a Leave No Trace program in Sonoma County, and both Marin and Mendocino counties really saw what was happening in Sonoma County and said, that's what we want to have happen in our counties too. And so our agreement with Leave No Trace is really an extension of what Sonoma County has started. And we're basically trying to coordinate across a larger geographic area. And so the working group has really recognized that Leave No Trace is a leader in this arena. And we see that what we're doing is going to really help us focus on 4 key initiatives. And so I'm going to take you through those initiatives. And Cleaner California Coast helps to promote a cleaner and healthier environment by promoting easy and accessible practices for everyone to engage in. And the website is cleanercoast.org, and the initiative's website serves as a hub for coastal specific practices and all of the great work and that local organizations are doing, as well as the counties themselves and the programs that they're promoting. So the principle 1 is know before you go. And let's see, so know before you go. We're really, with this one, we're promoting reuse, and we're trying to ask people to refuse single-use disposable materials. So single-use cutlery, single-use cups, coffee cups, and especially bioplastics and plastics. Anytime you have a chance to repack food and bring your picnics to the coast, we're asking that you try to do that with reusable containers. If you have to bring materials that are in single-use disposable items, be prepared to carry out your trash, even if it's wet or smelly. Not all of our communities in the unincorporated areas of Marin, Sonoma, Mendocino have waste hauler programs that actually go into all of the areas. So we're asking the public to kind of participate in this. So can considerations, the receptacles, all of the receptacles right now look different in each of our counties. So we are asking people just to, get their head in the game and, read the signage and try your best to put the materials in the right containers. Know before you throw. So that is something that the eco sorting station outside, which was done with West Marin Climate Action. I was involved, and the Rotary Club. I've been involved with that, but that seems to be a tool that's helping people, really get a direct sort of visual on exactly where materials go. The second principle is trash your trash. Pack it in, pack it out. We are aware that wildlife is impacted by the trash, and plastic in the ecosystems contaminates the coastal environment. Pack out everything you bring with you and consider picking up other litter so you find the place better than you found it. If a can is full, we ask that you don't sort of stack it on top, but just to pack it with you, take it with you, don't stack it. And protecting wildlife also is increased by any individuals who are fisher people to take your lines and hooks with you, and just don't leave any of that on the beaches or in the natural environments, because that can also cause harm to birds and aquatic animals and people. And so that's that. What to do with poop? That is a big one. And we are asking people, when you have to go, use a restroom. And if you see a restroom, think to yourself, do I have to go? Because you might not see another restroom for a while. And it's good to then choose to go and use the bathroom and make yourself go while there's a bathroom around. And so human waste contaminates the outdoors, and going to the bathroom on the beach or on the side of the road or on trails can result in unsanitary conditions and possible area closures. If you have a plan, you want to have a plan for disposal of diapers. Diapers is another big issue in our coastal zone. And so whether it is for children or adults, we want to encourage people to carry the diapers to the nearest available trash cans. And we are trying to reduce the amount of human waste that is going into the environment. Disposing of wet pet waste and taking responsibility for your pet. Pick up pet waste and dispose of it in a trash can. And we are compared to waste from wildlife and grazing animals, pet waste in particular contains harmful bacteria that pollutes the natural environment. And so number 4, be considerate of coastal communities. A number of years ago, Supervisor Rodoni and others came together with a number of regulatory agencies to talk about visitor impacts in the West Marin. And this is really in response to the impacts that we were feeling as a community. And so again, it's just the highlights of those meetings was help reducing the amount of trash burden to local coastal towns, and really getting the engagement of the visitor population and lifting up the organizations locally who are doing meaningful work in that arena. Take the opportunity to use restrooms when you can. This is just sort of repeating some of what we just learned. Okay. And this is a strategic plan. So there is a 5-year strategic plan, and we are in the first year. And what we hope these efforts will do is reduce impacts on the natural resources and the coastal communities, that we start to have consistent messaging across our 3 counties around pollution prevention and these 4 focus areas. And that we encourage the public to learn about Leave No Trace and what these practices mean to our own personal behavior, and then, you know, getting young people involved with that, getting our visiting people coming into the area, getting them kind of enthusiastic about these principles. And we want the Cleaner California Coast to be a leading popular voice in promoting responsible visitation to the California coastal areas. These imperatives are supported by long-term and short-term outcomes that will help the initiative and all of us involved navigate the pathway to success. And everyone who spends time in the coastal environments and communities can make a difference. And so you just have to, you know, communicate with each other in our community-based organizations or our county or your neighbor, and show up and try to take responsibility for what you're doing, and ask for help if you need it. If you don't know what to do, there's a lot of people who can give direction. And then right now, we just started sharing this social media stuff. And so if you are interested in participating in that, we'd love to share with you our digital assets. And then you can also go to a Cleaner California Coast website that is laying all of these things out. And in year 1, we are hiring county liaisons in each of the counties who I will work with. I'm going to be a program manager for this particular initiative. And we are trying to, like I was saying, we're trying to be an umbrella sort of initiative that builds a coalition of stakeholders who are working together. And we want to lift up the people that are doing the good work already. And we want to be also filling the gaps that exist. So the places that are like no man's land, like everyone's like, it's not my responsibility. We want to be in those spaces. We want to help sort of bring messaging into those spaces where people don't really have direction. And so I want to thank you for having me. And Bolinas is such an awesome community. You're such a good role model and example of how to do things right. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I love the idea of stewards of our land and stewards of our beaches. And it's really exciting that there's a program that helps facilitate and can help support stewardship, because that's what we all are. We're stewards of Bolinas, right? Next up, we have Nami Marin and Amanda Preston. I'm sorry, I got you guys' names wrong. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Amanda, and I am a former Bolinas resident, but now I am representing an organization called NAMI Marin. Can you raise your hand if you've ever heard of NAMI? Oh, wow. It's actually a lot more than I expected. But NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. They're a national organization. It's in the name. But the Marin affiliate is a little bit smaller, and we focus primarily on, well, sorry, let me back up. We are an organization that started in the 70s as a bunch of parents with adult children or youth children who were experiencing mental illness. And they started getting together around kitchen tables to support each other and talk about their experience and share resources. And so it kind of grew as a volunteer organization and continues to be an advocate and provide support and education for any individual affected by mental illness. And the NAMI Marin chapter continues to be kind of small, and we really rely on our volunteers. So we have a lot of volunteer run programs. And I'm here today to not only tell you all of that, but also to tell you that we have a family support group in Point Reyes that's also hybrid, similar to this meeting. And it is designed to be a place for family members. And I'm just going to quickly take a little bird walk and define family member. A family member is any adult who has a loved one who's experiencing symptoms of mental illness. So it doesn't have to be a diagnosed mental illness. It can just be symptoms. These are free groups and they are open to the public, and you can feel free to drop in, try it out, see if it works for you. But basically it's a place for you to come and share your experience. We support each other, share resources. And like I said, it's volunteer run. So that is on, we have 5 of them throughout the county, but we have one in Point Reyes that is run hybrid, and that's on Fridays at noon to 1:30. So I wanted to let you know about that. And then additionally, we have a lot of other programming throughout the county. With that, we have a family to family class coming up, and that is like an 8-week course. It's structured curriculum, and it's teaching evidence-based strategies for coping and navigating mental illness. And that's for family members as well. But I just wanted to share our little flyer so you have some information. If you wanted to take a picture of it, that's great. I also brought some printed out versions in case anyone's interested. Yeah, so that's our family support group in Point Reyes that I wanted you all to know about. And then, oh, and in person, if you wanted to go in person. Oh no, I've clicked a weird. Yeah, please, thank you. One more. Thank you. Okay. If you wanted to go in person, it's at the West Marin Health Services building. So just so you know where it is. But yeah, and if you happen to come to the support groups and you enjoy them and want to learn more about how to navigate mental illness for your loved one or with your loved one, there's our family to family classes that are returning this fall, also free. And yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up. So thank you for having me, and I'll just go ahead and do that.
Thank you so much. It's nice to meet you, and I'm to learn about things slightly outside of Bolinas, just all right over there. Next up, though, we have in Bolinas with my good friend here, Steve. He's not really my friend, but that's okay. I'm calling him my friend right now. Steve's going to come up and do. Is he coming in? Come on, Steve. Come on, Steve. Let's keep it moving. Keep it moving. You want me to do the slides for you? Yeah, I'll do it. Okay, I'll do it.
Hi, I'm Steve. I'm with the fire department. I'm also the disaster council coordinator. And the Bolinas Disaster Council is part of the fire department, although it is under the fiscal sponsorship of our association, the Volunteers Firefighters Association. So it is part of 501c3 if you wanted to give any money to it. And the Disaster Council is its primary job is to be our eyes and ears in a disaster. It started after the floods of 1982. Actually, the first Disaster Council started in Inverness when if you remember, they were cut off for 2 weeks because the whole hillside came down and blocked the road. So they said, you know what, we have to do something to be more self-sufficient. So ours was born out of theirs. And it is staffed primarily by the area coordinators. Mark is one of them. There'll be a slide here in a minute. I think it might be the next one. No, the town is divided into 12 areas, and then Commonweal is kind of our 13th one because they have quite a few people out there when they have programs. And each area has a disaster council area coordinator. And this is on our website. If you wanted to find out which area you were in, you can go to the website and click on your address, and it'll show you, and it'll tell you who your area coordinator is. Mark is the area coordinator for number 4. Ann Sands is out in Point Reyes, Dogtown. There's Ed's back there. He is number 3, 3. And we are currently missing 2 because people, retire and they move away. The area, the Gospel Flats going out to the Y, currently does not have a disaster council area coordinator. And then the area, which is primarily just Horseshoe Hill Road, we're needing an area coordinator there. But what they do is they have radios. We give them everything that they need, backpacks and the forms and all the forms they need, all the training, and they will go out and be our eyes and ears. And then they will relay back to us what they see after a disaster. But we can also use them in other areas. The last thing I think we had you guys do is during COVID, the county came to us and said, we need to know how many people are in Bolinas and what their age ranges are. And we sat, that's going to be quite a daunting task while we're doing everything else. And we thought, let's get our area coordinator. So you guys were so great. You went around and canvassed your area and they came up with a list. I happen to know, and this is what's great about being neighborhood people, because they don't have to go to every house. They know, I know how many people are in that house and I know how many people are in that house. So those are the things that we also have them do. Also every year during our pancake breakfast, they come down and help us out a lot with that. And so this is a recruitment request. What we're planning on doing, so we have go back the one that you just had. If you don't want to be in charge of the whole area, you can be a neighborhood liaison. You'd basically be an assistant to your area coordinator, and you could help canvass the area and help out your area coordinator, because some of them are quite large. You can imagine having 1/4 of the mesa. It's kind of large. It's a daunting task, but these guys are up to it. So guys and gals are up to it. But what we're also planning on doing is increasing the our post-disaster department operations center. So the community room at the firehouse will turn into our operations center. That is where we will be the spot where everyone sends their information. We will aggregate it and then send it off to the county in forms of requests for needs for what we need. But also we will coordinate in town with the BPUD and the school and everything else in our disaster shelters. And we realize that we don't have enough people for that, because while our firefighters are trained on it really well, we also know that those are the ones that are going to be running out the door when the disaster hits. So we need people who are willing to step up. Maybe you don't want to go around neighborhoods. Maybe you're really good at being, documenting things and stuff like that. So there's always something that someone can do. And we're hoping that you guys can come down and join the Disaster Council in all its many forms. Mark, you want to say anything about what it's like? How we just beat you like a rented horse and the amount of time that you have to put in?
Yeah, it's really simple. It's very easy. You just get your neighbors together. The main I think the object is to get the neighbors to know that we're here and in the event of an earthquake, fire, flood, but mostly for the catastrophes that happen when we don't know what if our neighbor's old and they're feeble. We have to go find out before the fire department finds out, because they may be downtown fighting a fire where there's other people in our neighborhood we know who can't get out and they're scared and they need somebody to talk to them. That's why we need a lot of liaisons to help coordinate this and just get to know your neighbors, so we can all be together in a catastrophe, which, the earthquake happens every 100 years here and it hasn't happened in 120. So it's overdue. It's not when it's going to be happening. At some point, the more prepared we are, the easier we can deal with this as a community. So it's easy. It's simple. If you have any questions, Steve can get a hold of any of us. Ed and Ann, they all know how to do this. You can talk to them. It's very simple. We don't have to do anything really until something happens, but we got to be prepared for that. So I implore you to join and just kind of be part of the solution instead of part of the problem. So.
Two quick announcements. This Saturday the 19th, we're having another CPR class. And at the firehouse, you can sign up for that. And then also on the 16th, which is next Wednesday, and then 30th, which is the Wednesday at the end of the month. We're having AED class. Those are the defibrillator, you stick on someone when someone goes into cardiac arrest. We have placed a number of them around town. There will be one in that corner. The association has bought them. One there, one at Smiley's, one at the museum, and one at the boat club. And they're public access. So if you would like to know how to use a defibrillator, we have a training one. We can train you. So either class, the 16th or the 19th or the 30th. And if you want to do CPR, it's on Saturday the 19th. And you can sign up by calling the firehouse. Thank you. Thanks, Will.
It's not working. That's okay. There we go. One of my favorite parts about crafting the community meetings is to do things like take the disaster council and then follow with an incredible presentation about sea level rise. Yeah, you see what I did there? And I'd like to introduce Isaac, senior planner from Marin County, to talk about sea level rise.
Okay. Okay, great. Yeah. Hey, everyone. Nice to be here out in Bolinas. As Will said, my name is Isaac Perlman. I'm a long-range planner with Marin County, and I'm here tonight because I was chatting with Wendy a while ago about some of the sea level rise work that I'm doing out in Stinson. And Wendy, as other people have said too, they were like, well, what about Bolinas? What's going on there? So tonight I'll present very quickly what some of the county's relevant work to date that is pertinent to Bolinas, and then I'll go into a little bit about Stinson and why we're starting the work there. So let's see. Oh, that worked. Okay. So if you all are interested in sea level rise, then especially for the west coast of Marin, I would highly encourage you to look up these two reports. And I put embedded links in the PDF, so hopefully that'll work if you post these. But these are from about a 3-year planning process that Marin County did from, I believe it was 2015 to 2018. And they did a high level look at sea level rise hazards for, as I said, all the communities in West Marin, from Muir Beach to Dillon Beach. So there are in both those reports a couple sections that are specific to Bolinas. And basically what those sections kind of look like is, well, to back up. So the process is the county formed a stakeholder advisory group, a technical advisory group, did about, I believe, at least a half dozen community meetings throughout the West Coast of Marin, and they developed what these maps look like. And these are sea level rise hazard risk maps. These are the ones for Bolinas. I could probably talk for over 10 minutes about just those. But as I said, I encourage you all to look at them. They identify the kind of blue dots are areas that might be at risk for bluff top erosion. As you can see, the inset downtown has some risk for future sea level rise. You can see the kind of different scenarios there. I'm happy to chat more about this with people if you all have any questions or anything. But as I said, please, I would highly encourage you all to start with these reports. Here's a few resources if you like. So again, this is the slide that has the embedded links. So you can click on the links. The marinslr.org website is kind of a mess right now, so it's very hard to find reports. So I would, you can click on the links in here or email me. I have my email at the end and I can connect you to those. I would also give a shout out to the this website. It's called Our Coast, Our Future. You can actually type in any address and then there's a slider so you can look at different sea level rise scenarios to see how that specific area that you're interested in could be affected by sea level rise. It actually just I believe in December of last year added some bluff top erosion layers, which I believe is pertinent to Bolinas. So definitely recommend checking that out. I will say again, like the reports I mentioned, this website, the Our Coast, Our Future website, that information is at a very high planning level. So if you're starting to think about a specific area, the standard caveat is you probably want to get a more specific analysis. But again, like I said, the county, the way planners use these is to identify areas, right, that need more specific analysis. Okay, so to go a little bit into Stinson, because again, I think if Bolinas is interested in more planning around sea level rise, hopefully this can help you all understand our process and what it looks like. We started with Stinson because of those two reports, and it basically identified Stinson as the West Marin community that has the most exposure to sea level rise. So that's the reason we started at Stinson. We're calling it the Stinson Beach ARC. The ARC is Adaptation and Resilience Collaboration. Basically what it is, it's a grant funded process. It's not regulatory. So and our goal is to basically develop information that helps Stinson stakeholders take informed actions around sea level rise. So this 2016 vulnerability assessment, that's the one that I showed earlier, right? So one of the first things we wanted to do in Stinson was update some of the data. Particularly the 2016 report did not look at groundwater data. That is available now, but through that Our Coast, Our Future website. So you can look at that for Bolinas as well. We also looked at coastal 100-year storm layers, and we used some more recent data around East Cook Creek and looked at the potential flooding around that. The next step in the process is basically developing, once we released a report in April with all that updated data around vulnerabilities. And so now we're working with a consultant technical team to try and identify what adaptation strategies are possible out in Stinson. And we'll be coming back to the community and stakeholders probably by this fall or winter with a draft to then sit down and talk with everyone to say, okay, here's the options available and what do you all think? The final product of this process is going to be an adaptation report or roadmap that'll identify short-term, midterm, and long-term strategies. Okay, so our process and schedule, as you can see, we finished phase one, as I mentioned, on our website, which I'll put up in a second. You can find the I think it's like a 60-page report about the vulnerabilities in Stinson that we released in April. As I mentioned, now we're in phase two, which is working with the technical team to try and understand what options we have in response to the hazards from that report. And then next year we'll be releasing a draft roadmap, going to stakeholders, doing some extensive engagement, and then developing the final after that. So just to give you an idea, this is one of the images from our report. So this is just for today, and it's a little busy, and I probably don't have time to explain it, but the purple layer is kind of the 100-year coastal storm layer. So that's the inland extent of storm wave runup from the coast. You'll see as I advance some slides, you'll see some flooding from the lagoon side. Groundwater and East Cook Creek are not pictured here. We do have other maps in the report that look at that. But just to advance, so this is, even today, there's a couple hundred homes that are vulnerable in Stinson to a 100-year storm. As we look at 1.6 feet of sea level rise, which is projected to be around 2050 is when that could happen. You can see in the light blue some of the early flooding coming from the backside of Bolinas Lagoon. The yellow layer is coastal erosion, so some beach loss happening with 3.3 feet of sea level rise. You can see the water kind of advancing. It's kind of hard to see, but Highway 1 is starting, we kind of did an analysis to show how many linear feet of Highway 1 start to get flooded under some of these scenarios. And then with 6.6 feet of sea level rise, you can see there's quite a bit of flooding. As I always say when I present these maps, this is what it looks like if we don't do anything. But that's what we're trying to do with our project, is identify there are a myriad of flood adaptation options and strategies that are out there. So we're really trying to work with the community to understand what's possible and what people are interested in doing. So Will didn't let me show this video, but I will give a plug to our website. There's an embedded link on this slide too, or it's on our website. Those flood maps are really hard for people, I think, to understand viscerally what those scenarios look like. But we worked with a consultant called Virtual Planet who built a 3D model, computer model, and kind of did some great visualizations of what East Cook Creek flooding and flooding around Bolinas Lagoon or from the coast could look like in Stinson. So highly recommend you check that out. Our next steps, I kind of went through this already, but we've been doing a lot of engagement with the Stinson community. We're going to be doing some engagement with Stinson Beach visitors on August 26th, actually. So if anyone is around Stinson Beach, wants to come out, we'll have a table out there engaging beach visitors around sea level rise vulnerabilities. And then, as I mentioned, hopefully by fall or winter, we're going to try and come out with that draft report of what's the options that are possible out in Stinson. We'll be doing a lot of engagement, and then we'll be then coming out with adaptation pathways that we recommend. Again, doing more engagement with the community before our final report. All right. Hopefully I didn't go too much over my 10 minutes, but feel free, come chat with me after if you have any questions or want to talk. My email's up there. Feel free to drop me an email. That QR code will actually take you straight to our Stinson Arc website. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Isaac, and everyone, all the community speakers. It's quite a range that we have this evening. Next up for the meeting tonight is our community projects, and we have boom, community projects. I like the animations, keeps it fun. I'm gonna have to do some finagling real quick to get Einor up on the screen, who's gonna give an update. And so to remember how to do this, I always put this up on the screen. It says switch to Zoom. So give me 1 second to get it sorted for Einor. We just have to wait for her to unmute. There we go. Oh, there she is. Uh-oh. Einor, can you hear us? Oh,
Can you
boy.
hear me okay?
Hey, there we go. All right, now let me do the thing where I put you on screen. Okay, stand by.
Oh, you don't need to do that.
Okay, perfect. That part's
Oh my-
complicated for me. All right, everyone just listen intently to what Einor has to say.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming to this amazing meeting, and Will, your organizing is amazing. I want to just say that our team, Melinda, Steve Matson, myself, and also Jennifer Blackman, have been making steady progress, forward momentum on the interim post office plan at Mesa Park. So it's certainly not me and just and Melinda, but we have a lot of people working on this. So by steady progress, I mean that where we are now is that we have weekly meetings with USPS, meaning the post office, and we meet with the director of the Western region. He's the real estate director and the emergency planner as well for all of the Western states. So we're meeting with the real estate person and the emergency director for installing post offices. And then we also are working with their contract architect, even though Steve's been doing an amazing job as our town architect. So now we're all in a weekly meeting. And then between that, we have our own internal meetings weekly because there's a lot to be done at this stage. We've gained great momentum. We are still in the same place I told you each meeting is that we can't announce a commitment by the post office to this plan until we sign the lease. We do think the lease process, the lease is forthcoming. We think the lease signing could happen within 4 weeks. So that's very exciting, but please with us respect their request that we don't make any announcements on an official post office commitment to the plan until we get the lease signed. However, in the meantime, we're parallel pathing the other processes that we need to have done, which is the design review and finalization of the design in collaboration with the post office. And we've just finished that process this week. We're now able to put the packet together that's required for the county and the Coastal Commission. We met with the county. We had Rodoni's representative with us there. And we really want to thank Rodoni and his team in particular for their efforts at this stage with the county and the Coastal Commission. We have really great support from the county, and what I mean by that is they're very invested in this project moving forward. We can't skip steps. They did a deep research on what do we actually need to do. We have to do a design review. We have to put it before the Coastal Commission, but they're championing this for us with the Coastal Commission, and they're expediting any process they can for us within the county requirements. So we're filling out and completing all the documents they need for that application to go in, and then we'll know who's assigned to our review. And at that point is when we need to re-engage the fantastic capacity of John Borg and the entire community into another unique original envelope submission, where we actually will write to the county representative and say to them, we really support this plan. We really need this plan. It's not a luxury. It's a matter of health, welfare, and economy for our community. So we really want you to move this forward as quickly as you can. So we'll have another letter writing campaign, and Dear John has offered up his barn again for that. And we'll have the address labels as soon as we get an assigned reviewer, and we'll get those address labels out to stick on those envelopes. So prepare yourselves, start getting creative, or at least getting motivated to make yourselves heard again, because that letter writing campaign previously and the postcard campaign was very, very effective in getting the attention of not just Huffman and not just the local post office representation and the San Francisco district manager, but actually the federal postmaster himself. So that voice of our community, that unified voice, has made a huge difference. And John's leadership in that has been really helpful. As soon as we do get the lease signed, we're planning a big barn dance again, thanks to John and his family in the barn. But we're planning to celebrate, but also have it as whatever you can contribute kind of fundraiser. In addition, we are already working on a major donor campaign, because you might remember from our original presentations that we as a community offered to raise the money to stand up the site, which means the site preparation and bringing in the mobile units, the portable units, to allow us to stand up a temporary location as quickly as possible. So we're already actively engaged in a fundraising campaign at a major donor level. So we'll stand it up, but the post office will be responsible for the monthlies, and that's a typical US Post Office lease agreement. And this is moving through. The other necessary piece of this is BPUD has stepped up to be the landlord, and so it's moving through their board as well. And so the timeline really is we're hoping to get a lease signed within 4 weeks. Unfortunately, the permitting process, everybody who's lived in West Marin very long knows that has an estimated timeline of months, but we are on a fast track with internal champions there. So I can't give you a timeline on that. What we're going to do is post a summary of this in the Hearsay News and on our website and on Nextdoor. And then we'll create a graphic that shows a timeline so people can set realistic expectations about this. We can't guarantee any bit of this, but we have fantastic momentum and fantastic engagement with the post office and the county at this point. So all things are moving forward in a really positive way, and we're going to need the community's help again very soon. So I'll stop there, and Will, if there's anything that I've missed that you want to ask me to highlight, this would be the moment.
No, I think the only thing you've missed are all the smiles and excited faces in the
Oh,
room.
yay.
Stoked.
And I will say that there are lots
Stoked.
of rumors
Everybody's
flying
stoked.
around about other processes or other options. We are, at the same time as we're getting the interim plan set up, we're in the discovery process for a permanent solution. That's still being explored. We've got some good possibilities, but we aren't going to abandon the interim plan unless something concretely shows up that will happen faster than this. We're going to keep this train on the tracks, because this is our most likely option for getting post office services back in Bolinas as soon as possible. I also wanted to say that I know it's a hardship on people. If there are things that you just are really struggling with, particularly things I would say around healthcare, please let me know. but other issues too. Let our committee know, and that's, the committee is bigger than myself, Melinda and Steve and Jennifer, but let the broader committee know, probably through Will, because we know that your experience right now is still challenging, and to hear that it might be months might be a little discouraging, but there are steps we could take to possibly make your experience with the post office better in the interim through customer relations, et cetera. And so make sure you're reaching out to us if you don't understand where we are in the process, but also the broader committee wants to know what kinds of things could we be doing to make your interim experience better. But thank you, everybody, for all your efforts on this.
Thank you so much, Einar. And really appreciate your update tonight. And I'm going to click the mute button and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, I will speak, switch to Zoom. Yes, as Einar did mention, on the website, there are some links about contacting customer support and some other things. So like if you're missing mail or there's a confusion about something, I just want to reiterate that I think it's really important that we use the forms and the things that the Postal Service has, because they go into a queue, they kind of have to be dealt with, and it might be a great opportunity, but we are interested in figuring out what challenges you're still facing. I know I personally am facing challenges. So, we want to make sure we have a good avenue to get you guys the support you need. Community projects are the things that the civic group has helped facilitate in a variety of different ways. There's a few of them. The post office is one of them, but I'd like to go way back for this evening just to touch on one that we've touched on almost every single time. Who remembers the Waterhouse complex? Yeah, all of us. And all of this started quite some time ago with a meeting in which we came together. And so as time has moved on, I've brought in the Waterhouse on numerous occasions through these meetings and I've talked, but tonight I wanted to actually introduce another member of the Billina Civic Groups, one of the working groups. And I'd like to introduce Karen Quay, who is going to talk a little bit about the Waterhouse complex and what's gone on and et cetera, and where we're at right now. So Karen. I'm not saying you're small but and short, but I know you're short and small.
Okay, well, I'm Karen Quay, and are you going to do my slides? Okay. And real quickly, I'm going to go over what is the Waterhouse complex, what happened to it, what did we do as a community about it, and what is next. So the Waterhouse complex, which you should have a picture of up now to see it, was built in the 1960s by the Waterhouse Pepper family and on their own property. And yeah, do you have the picture before that? Okay. Okay. Should I keep talking? Originally, it was 2 buildings, 4 lots, and 4 residential units and quite a few businesses on the main floor. And the businesses at one time actually had the hardware store and the laundromat. And we are not, there you go, we're catching up. And in its prime, or thereafter, it looked like this at one point. And then in June 5th, 2020, there was the big fire, which destroyed just about everything. And then it looked like that. And then COVID came and a group of people in the community formed a group that said we all need to get together and have a town meeting. And that was on February 8th, and Mark Butler hosted it. And the primary discussion topic at that meeting was the Waterhouse building. And it was very popular. We filled the house and actually had 100 connections on Zoom that maxed out the Zoom capacity. What happened was we talked about what should the Waterhouse complex project be? Can we buy the property? Who should buy it? How do we do it? And what do we want to do about it? And it was at that meeting on February 8th that we actually gathered some input from the group. And it sounded like people wanted businesses on the first floor and housing on the second floor. And that what brought audience reaction of applause was an office for our social worker and our senior people. What happened after that meeting was Will went online and he formed the Bolinas Civic Group website, he created an online portal, and he asked people to sign up. And I was one of the people who signed up. And so we had our first meeting February 23rd. And before that first meeting, around February 17th, the community heard that the post office was going to be closing on March 3rd. So what we did at that meeting was we organized ourselves, and 4 days later, we had another meeting, and we decided as part of the Waterhouse Complex project, we would take on both Waterhouse Building and the post office project. So there were 11 of us, reviewed community input. We discussed how to move forward, and we created a plan. What happened was that we planned to develop a vision based on the community input. And we thought we would develop models and drawings and find resources and investors, and then we would present all that to the community. But in reality, what happened, and we did actually have this drawing by Steve Mattson, which was a footprint of the same building, the buildings that existed, so that we didn't increase the footprint. And the second slide will show kind of what could happen with apartments on the second story and businesses down below. But it was very, very hard to proceed with this project, because what really happened was that the post office took priority of the members of the group. And some of us stayed on both groups, and I'm still on the post office group, even though the 4 people that were mentioned by Einor are really taking the lead on that. And so the Waterhouse project, we had diminished availability and interest, and we really couldn't determine potential and financial models for the building, because we really hadn't figured out what the building could do or what the community wanted the building to do. So we had limited resources, we had limited time. And what's coming next is that we're basically seeking additional community interest, because the building is still standing there and looks horrible. And we want to engage in focused discussions. We want to review all the discussions we've had and our materials that we developed. And we would like to develop stewards for the work going forward and ongoing community involvement. And I think Will might have something to say about that. Probably does.
Hi, everybody. I do want to thank, I apologize that the machines are all acting funny. Sometimes the poor computers, it's doing so much over there. You have no earthly idea. But we did, we had this idea about actually in June, and I presented it. It was called the Bolinas Civic Salon, and it was really hoity-toity. I mean, I had this grand idea that we could have these conversations, because, we do these formatted meetings where people are talking. There's not a lot of time for discussion or conversation, but it's important to have those, right? So how could we have like these kind of like curated conversations where we can get to talk, but maybe the name's not right. So we could call it maybe the Bolinas Civic Sit Down. No. How about the Bolinas Civic Soul Search? No. Okay. How about the Bolinas Civic Supper? Nobody's laughing. I mean, I think fonts do a lot here. But the point is that we want to be able to have conversations, right? And the conversation that I want to have tonight is about talking about what matters to us. The idea of theming these meetings is about an ongoing conversation or an ongoing information or things that come up. But I wanted to actually talk tonight about what matters to me, if that's all right with you guys. Okay. So there's a couple of things that are important to me when I think about the past couple of months. It's been 6 or 7 months that we've been hosting these meetings, but I've learned about some things. And one of them is important, is being healthy. Actually, very importantly right now, because I have not been healthy. And when I needed to find an X-ray machine in West Marin, I couldn't, and that was a bummer. It took me a long time to get over the hill. And that was something that mattered to me. I was like, why is there no X-ray machine over here? So then I started thinking about well, what does it mean if I'm not well and I need help? What are the things that matter to me? How do I get food? Where do I go if I'm sick and I need help? And I also think about how we communicate. One of these things that I've been noodling on is the thought about this idea of like transformative translation, trying to be able to communicate in ways where you can understand me and I can understand you. Sometimes it means I change what I say or you change what you say, but somehow we come to this common language. And I think that that's super important too, because it seems like it's working. We keep coming together, we keep having conversations, talking about things that we seem to be able to understand with each other. And I am learning lots of new things. For the past 6 months, I've learned so much about nonprofits, about agencies, about the county, about people, talking to people about what matters to them, what's important to them. I've been completely engrossed in this process of perpetual learning that I hope never stops now because I'm really into it. It's really great. And from that learning, I'm learning how to adapt. Every one of these meetings, I try some fancy new thing that usually gets screwed up and makes me feel weird and then makes me anxious. And then I have to figure it out. But that's not what I'm talking about adapting. What I'm adapting to is the needs of everyone around me who talks about, comes up and say, I want to do this. I want to do that. Let's talk about this. And why this is important is because the more that we adapt ourselves to the environment we're in, the more connections I seem to be able to build with other people. The more I'm learning, the more I'm understanding, the more I'm adapting to the environment, the more connections with the folks around me. And that's really important to me for one simple reason that I want to talk about. And that is because that's what it appears to me to be as a part of a community. Now, I don't know if I mentioned last time that I'm from West Philly and I've never been in a part of a community before, but I'm trying to figure out what community is. And I think I'm learning. And I think all of us are learning, not just about the community that I think that I'm in, but all of the other communities within the community. And I think that that's really exciting. And so the Bolinas Civic Group has been operating for a couple months now, and we're working on this thing called Bridging Bolinas. And Bridging Bolinas is this idea that if we can, learn how to communicate, learn how to adapt to each other, learn how to translate ourselves back and forth to others, learn about what's important to each of the people in the community, we might be able to make some pretty good change. Because there are things that are changing and they're not going to stop changing. So we should try to do our best to be a part of it. And this is what's worked for me. And I don't know what has worked for you, but I want to get back to some ideas around that civic supper, that soul search, whatever we want to call it. I understand the civic salon was probably a hoity-toity name, but my name's Will Bartlett. What? I'm done. I don't engage in hearsay or rumors. I think that's great, but I do. Well, it's Howard, I would love to have a conversation about the work that the Waterhouse Complex Planning Group has done in an environment that we can have. Well, I've heard some rumors, but I think that this is not the place for that, which is why I'm offering up an opportunity. Oh, okay. Okay. Well, there's always rumors out in the world. I don't. Well, the good news, let me step back. I wanted to address the concerns that these meetings sometimes don't offer an opportunity for conversation. And there's a reason for that. And one of the big reasons is it's very complicated, right? It's very complicated because we have a lot of people on Zoom and it's very difficult to kind of have that kind of conversation, but I understand the value and the importance. And I think that those conversations should be had in a smaller forum. So I'm offering up the opportunity for those smaller forums. Okay, sound fair? Maybe not. Yes, sir. real quick for the folks on Zoom, I'm just going to repeat what Ariane's saying. Ariane's saying there was a thing called an open table or something like that, an opportunity to pose questions and sit in a group and have them. And the good news is we have partners want to do this with us. The Coast Cafe has offered up an opportunity for us to have a sit down and have a dinner and talk about things. And I want to offer that up to the community. But the amount of I'm sorry, I don't want to stop you, Ariane. Potluck dinner, a lot of ideas, gather at tables, talk about things. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Talk about trash cleanup, all that stuff. Anyway, I appreciate that. That is what I'm offering. I'm just gonna say thank you everyone for showing up. The next meeting is in September. It's gonna be on the 13th between 6 and 8. Again, all of the information from tonight is going to be available on galenacivicgroup.org, including all of the links from the stacks of speakers. We have a really great range of folks that came out tonight. We'll do a summary with some links to pop off to the other areas. We'll have that all available on the website. Also, we'll do a review in the hearsay. So we'll give a review in the hearsay. And yeah, so I want to thank all of the folks that came tonight, especially from all the different places they've come to. It's been quite a great range, and I really appreciate you all. And sorry for the technical stuff as always. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
Mhm.